Morning. Today I'm combining two messages. The first was naked and unashamed, as it was in the garden before sin came in, and then tying in about us being reconciled to God so that we can be naked and unashamed once again, right? So that's what happens. It says in Genesis 2:25, it talks about them being Adam and Eve being naked and unashamed, walking through the garden just with God, loving Him and loving everything around them, until sin came in and they became autonomous or separate from God by choice. And us being reconciled to God is by choice also. I'm going to read this. For the love of Christ controls us or compels us, because we have concluded this, that one died for all, therefore all died. He died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for him who died and was raised again. From now on, therefore, we regard no one according to the flesh. Even though we once regarded Christ according to the flesh, we regard him thus no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new is here. All of this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. Therefore, we are Christ's ambassador. We are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For our sake, he made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Everything is about us being reconciled to God, being placed back in that place of we are now naked and unashamed. Back in that place. So now we can walk with no guilt or shame or condemnation because we've been made whole and complete in him, right? And then we're led by the Spirit of God rather than just by our flesh, living a posture of I am my own rather than being reconciled to God and now we are his. That's where the real freedom comes in, and that's where the fruit of the Spirit flows from our life. Instead of us being in bondage to self, trying to get everything for ourselves, now we've been reconciled back into that right place with God, and we can walk naked and unashamed in our life, our spirit. So now we have the choice to, when we get to that doorway of decision in our life, if we're led by temptation in some way, we have that choice. Am I going to walk by the Spirit, or am I going to walk by the flesh, right? Our new nature is walking by the Spirit. So if we choose to give ourselves over to the flesh, it does not match with our new nature. So we struggle, right? That's conviction of God saying, I've got a better way for you, my child, right? This is the way to fullness of life, and yet you're choosing something less. God's love is always calling us to walk by the Spirit, to walk and be with him. And yet we can choose to walk by the flesh, and still we remain, we are a new creation. Our identity has been changed, and we've been given the Spirit of God, so that is our guide. He's showing us a better way to live. Now we can be prompted. Those who walk by the Spirit will not gratify the desires of the flesh. So the Spirit is always calling us into that place of fullness of life with him. And our flesh is always calling us into a self-centered, self-seeking route. Come to him, allow him to change you, and walk naked and unashamed. God bless y'all.